Ropes podcast, YouTube exclusive today. Now, guys, if you've seen our stuff in the past, we always like to get on any of the big names coming out of the New Jersey independent scene. And we have another one of the big names right now. He is the voice of not only SWF, he does UWA, LTW, and he also does celebrity boxing. You know him, you love him, the man, the myth, legend himself, Mr. Rich Reed. Rich, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you on. But let's get into, and actually, it's actually nice to actually be doing this now, because when I first met you was right after I did the one chip challenge.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, that I'll say this much, because we did one back in July.
Mm-hmm.
The one we did on Sunday was 10 times hotter.
I don't even want to imagine. And I'm a hot sauce. I'm a hot type of guy, but I've done those chips before, and 10 times hotter than what I had. I don't think I can handle it.
Yeah, I don't recommend anybody to try the 2022 version, but that's not why we're here today. But Rich, I want to get into it. Before we get into the ring announcement that you do now for a lot of these promotions in Jersey, what got you into wrestling? Was there a specific match or a moment?
Well, what got me into the wrestling business? I mean, I've watched wrestling my entire life, since I was a kid. But what got me into the business was I was just unemployed and bored. And a friend of mine who was a wrestler posted on Facebook that his company was holding auditions, for wrestlers and ring announcers and refs. And like I always say, I knew I wasn't cut out to be a wrestler, but I thought ring announcer, I could do that. People always told me I had the voice of a game show host, so I thought, why not? I have nothing to do. I'm unemployed, so I just went and I tried, and the rest is history. I started with UWA Elite, and my first gig was for a full week at the Middlesex County Fair.
Okay, but now, so growing up, then were you more of a WWE guy or WCW?
WWE for sure.
A WWE, so more like Attitude Era-esque.
Yeah, Attitude Era, even a little bit before the full Attitude Era, kicked in. I was into it even before that, and of course, the Attitude Era was the peak of all that.
Now, when you do the ring announcing stuff now, do you take anything from the guys in the past, like your Howard Finkel's or your Gene Okerlunds, or do you try to make it your own?
After. Well, ultimately you try to make it your own, but it's okay to incorporate little pieces of different people into your spiel. And then, of course, there's Howard Finkel first and foremost, and then I love boxing, so Michael Buffer, Mr. Let's Get Ready to Rumble. Of course, there's a little bit of him, and there's other announcers, but at the end of the day, I'm Rich Reed. But I definitely pay homage in subtle ways, maybe, to the announcers of the past.
Now, obviously, like I said before, you work with a lot of the promotions. First of all, how long have you been doing the New Jersey independent scene for?
I think 2013 is when I started.
And what was it? UWA was your first promotion?
Yes, it was. Yes. Yeah, and I still work for them to this day.
And then how did you get involved with, the companies like SWF and LTW?
Oh, man. So SWF was the second company I ever worked for. And I was, after working for just UWA for the first year and a half, I loved working for them, but I wanted to expand because I really wasn't a wrestling industry guy. I was just a UWA guy. So I was asking around, and my friend George, who was a referee and wrestler in UWA, put me on to Rob Fury. And he told me Rob Fury's looking for an announcer, and he put in the word. So I messaged Rob Fury. And Rob Fury, he said he had already seen my work. And he's like, hey, man, we need a new announcer. Welcome to SWF. And that's when I started to branch out. That was at the end of 2014.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's been very recent then for you, for a lot of this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was, 2013, 2014. I mean, it was a few years ago when it started.
And then LTW was the same thing?
LTW, I hooked up with at the end of 2019. Actually, Rob Fury kind of put me onto it. He reached out to me at the end of 2019. I hadn't seen Rob in a couple of years, but he asked me to ring announce for SWF, and he mentioned LTW because I knew Ace Marksman as a wrestler from working at SWF, and I heard he was starting his own company, and he's like, yeah, they need an announcer. So at the end of 2019, I rejoined SWF, and that's when I started with LTW. And LTW, that's been a beautiful relationship. They're like that's a family for sure.
I was going to say, out of any of the promotions you work with, I mean, is there one promotion that you hold near and dear to your heart?
There's no one promotion that I hold near and dear to my heart. I have to give it up to UWA because that's where it started.
Yeah.
That's where it started. They took a guy with no experience and gave me a shot, and I worked for them to this day. I have been the ring announcer for that company. So that's been amazing. But of course, SWF. I've worked closely with Rob Fury and LTW, man. I'm sort of in character. I'm on their YouTube episodes with a gimmick, Don't Touch the Jackets with Robbie Alessandro. And I lived at Ace Marksman's house because he was always filming at his house. That was like my second home. So there's so many different companies I hold near and dear to my heart.
But but then you look at, or is there one company, obviously, like you said, you work for SWF, UWA, and LTW. Is there another company out there that you would like to work with? Obviously, you have your WWEs and AEWs, but I'm saying like in the New Jersey area.
GCW, of course. That's a huge company. JAPW, it was a company I always wanted to work for, especially when Bat Frank, was still with us. I don't know if they're still around, but that was a company that I always would have loved to have worked for as well.
And then I know you also, like I said in my intro, you also do celebrity boxing.
Oh, yeah.
How did that come to fruition?
Oh, man. So I met Hazel, the Latin lover Roche. He was working for SWF. He was the celebrity boxing heavyweight champion. And he told me to contact Damon Feldman, the CEO of celebrity boxing. So, he and I would chat. But then last year in Times Square, New York, I did a boxing standoff between the Naked Cowboy and a boxer, Anthony Stallone Patinella. And we posted it on, social media. And Damon caught a wind of it. And he liked what he saw, how I had a megaphone in the street and I was doing an unofficial weigh-in with the Naked Cowboy, screaming my lungs out. And, plus I had already been in contact with Damon, so he liked what he heard. And that's when I started in Miami last year in October. Lamar Odom in the main event.
Jeez. Now, going into a wrestling event compared to a boxing event, is there a difference in how you approach it as a ring announcer?
Oh, it's 100% different. Well, because boxing ring announcing and wrestling ring announcing is somewhat different. With wrestlers, this match is scheduled for one fall. The wrestlers come out, you announce them over the music. But boxing, it's a longer process. You announce their name, announce them to the ring, announce the second guy to the ring, and then you go through your long announcements. You say where they're from, what their record is. So it's a little bit different. And then you have to go to the referee for the pre-fight instructions. So there are more moving parts to announcing a boxing match than a wrestling match, for sure.
So you mean it's not like in wrestling where you see the ring announcer does it, and then after the second guy comes out, you just see them bolt right out of the ring?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's usually how it is, unless it's a main event where you do the in-ring. But it is a little bit different with a ring announcer. Plus, if a fight breaks out in a wrestling fight before you can finish your announcing, you've got to run out and jump off the apron.
Yeah, I've seen quite a bit of that going to some shows in Jersey and it actually happened. I'd gone to a show in Maryland for Maryland Championship Wrestling, and they were announcing one of the matches, and it was I think it was a no DQ match.
Okay.
And right as the first guy was getting announced, the second guy came out and attacked him.
Oh, man.
So I see a lot. I when I go to a lot of these shows, I watch out for the little nuances, like
Oh, yeah.
the stuff that most people don't look at. I'm looking at, because and I've always said it, especially doing the show. I look at wrestling much differently than the average wrestling fan does,
You
because
break
doing
it
the
down.
show, well, yeah, I mean, we talk about it every week on the show, but it's also, I talk to people in the industry, and I'm not saying I'm in the know, so to speak. I don't want to be in the know, but I look at it in a much different perspective
Right.
than your average fan who will sit there and will go to a show at the Garden and be like, "Ooh, Roman Reigns is taking on Nakamura."
And that's it.
Yeah, like me, I'll sit there, and it's happened the last couple of shows I've been to in Jersey, where I'll sit there and go, "This doesn't make any sense."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're an analyzer. You break it down bit
Yeah.
by bit, part by part. Like where some fans, they're just happy to just sit there and just get caught up in the spectacle of it. But you notice every little nook and cranny, every nuance.
Well, it's not even that. I also and I never sit there and say that I know more than the people in the ring, because I've never taken a bump. I'll be the first one to say that. What I'm looking at it is, as a fan sitting at home or in the in the Mecca, as it's called,
Right.
in Ridgefield Park, I'm looking at it, okay, am I going to invest 15, 20 minutes into a match that has no storytelling?
Right. I agree. I think storytelling is key. The wrestling it's the physical stuff first and foremost, but if you don't have the storyline on top of that, it's like having a nice cake and you just have the bready part, but you don't have any toppings, you don't have any icing, you don't have any extra additives. The storyline is also key. That's what makes it complete.
Like, I'll give a great example. Obviously, the show that you were at this Sunday was the Brie combination show. You would come there after your show that day. We talked about it on our show this past Tuesday. There were some matches on there that to me made no sense. But then on the flip side, we had seen a match for Pro Wrestling Magic, which was Danny Moff versus Darius Carter. And that had everything. That had the storytelling, that had the emotional part of it. And that's what I like with wrestling, is the storytelling. I'm very big on the storytelling of it. And you said it before. The physical stuff's going to be there, but if you don't have the storytelling, you're not going to have people invested.
Right. It's a tale of good and evil.
Well, that's what makes wrestling so interesting, is the tale of good and evil. And by the way, folks, I normally don't sound this raspy, but I'm also coming off a bad cold right now, so I'm sorry if I sound like Squidward. But
Here you sound great.
thanks. Oh shit. But I know you also, well, actually, before we even get into that, I know Rob Fury actually made some news yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to get into that a little bit.
Hit me. Let's talk about it.
That he announced that, I think through Titan, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Titan, they're doing like their Rumble. And for the first time, him and the owner of Titan are going to be in the same ring with a live mic.
That is going to be something else, and it's amazing that we've come to this part. Even though you got the sense that eventually it would come back there, the fact that it's actually happening is still fascinating because you just don't know. Two guys who shoot haven't seen each other in 3 years.
Yeah, but that's what's gonna make it so much fun now.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You don't know what to expect.
No, no. There's a lot of history, let's just say.
Yeah, I kind of read up on it a little bit last night, and from what I heard, they had not the best separation, if you want to call it that.
That's fair.
And yeah, but I actually speak about SWF. I know they have an event coming up this weekend.
They, Rob Fury has always been a show machine, and he has it this weekend in Lyndhurst. November Rain is going to feature Mr. Tony Atlas, and I'm very excited for that. I've worked with Tony under the SWF banner many times, and that's going to be great. And then the following weekend, November 12th, they're going to be back at the Homedale Motor Inn. Uh, and the franchise Shane Douglas is going to be there. Someone else that I've worked with under the SWF banner, the nicest guy in the world. I really love Shane Douglas. And then
Now, go ahead.
yeah, and then Rob Fury just has so much more. And then also November 26th. No, yeah, 26th I think. On the night they'll be in Metuchen, but I'll actually be doing LTW on that day.
Now, and folks, definitely, I highly recommend getting a ticket to see any of these events. It's very action packed, very high pace. And actually, one of the guys who you call in UWA is actually a good friend of the show, Corey Dillinger.
Oh, that's my guy. I've been on many road trips with Corey Dillinger to shows of different companies. Man, that's my guy.
Yeah, he is a good friend of the show. He actually helps us a lot behind the scenes.
Really? Okay. Well, that's good to know. Any friend of Corey's is a friend of mine.
But yeah, he's a great guy. And but folks, like I said before, definitely go get your tickets for it. You're not going to want to miss it. I mean, the fact you get to see Tony Atlas still and still perform. I mean, a lot of those guys from that era are not performing anymore.
A lot of them can't. Wrestling's a rough sport, but he looks great. He looks, just amazing and always in great spirits when I see him. So it's an honor. I don't know how he does it. If it's genetics, if it's how he took care of himself. I mean, I'm sure it's probably a combination of both. But whatever he's doing, when I'm his age, I want to be as healthy and active.
And not even that, the fact that you also get to work with Shane Douglas, a guy who pretty much put his body through hell and back in the original ECW days.
Yeah. Yeah, he came. I remember it was WWE, ECW, and he's an absolute legend. And like I said about Shane Douglas before, he is such a humble guy. For being such a wrestling legend and having accomplished what he's accomplished, he'll sit down with you and just have a nice conversation with you, just like a regular guy, and talk to you about different things. And that's really what impresses me about a legend. They're a legend, but they can take it in good stride and not be a jerk.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And because I've met a lot of these legends going to shows and stuff, and when you actually get to talk to them one on one, and you don't come off like a fanboy, they're some
Yeah.
of the nicest people to talk to.
All right. Exactly. And that's how I approach it. Just they're a person just like you. Remember
Hmm.
that. And they want you to know that.
Yeah, like I'll give an example. We just went down to Baltimore for a Celeb Fest recently,
Mhm.
and I met a lot of the. I mean, I'm talking legends down there, and I spoke to a lot of them like they're a regular human being, and you don't know how many of them were appreciative of that. And
Yeah.
I'm talking guys like The Godfather, Mick
Mhm.
Foley. I'm talking like legends in this industry.
Those are two guys that I've seen in interviews. Just from what I see on TV, Mick Foley seems like the nicest guy on planet Earth, and The Godfather seemed very nice. I ring announced at WrestleCon this year in Morristown, New Jersey, and it was Demolition was there, and I sat next to Axe at the commentator table. He complimented my announcing, told me I did a great job, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And when the Rock and Roll Express, also two of the utmost legendary tag team, and they told me great job, great suit. It's
It's like you're sitting there going, what did I do to deserve this?
it really is, because if you told me when I was a kid, when I was watching wrestling, that one day you'd be rubbing elbows with these guys and they would pay you a compliment, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have laughed at you.
Well, I'll give another example. Over the summer, we went up to Albany to the Hall of Fame, and we were at a table with Bushwhacker Luke. And
Yeah,
I'm talking the Bushwhacker Luke.
I've worked with him. Yep.
And I'm just talking to him. I mean, we also became very good friends with Cody Hall. And it's like, I was sitting there that weekend, I'm going, this is somebody whose father basically changed wrestling right now. Because if Scott didn't do what he did with him and Kevin back in WCW, who knows how the Attitude Era would have played out?
Oh, they were extremely instrumental in all of that. And Scott Hall, I mean, he contributed to one of the greatest matches in wrestling history with, of course, Shawn Michaels, another all-time great.
Yeah.
The ladder match. They people that raised the bar.
Like, I'll give you another example. Does the name Buff Bagwell ring a bell? Or actually, as he goes by now, Marcus Bagwell.
I've worked with Buff Bagwell. I worked with him at SWF. I want to say, I think it was at the end of 2019 when I went back to SWF. I can't think of the town off the top of my head. Another sweetheart.
We saw him in Baltimore, he remembered who we were. And I'm sitting, I'm going, and I mean, I'm sitting there, mind you, we're about to hit our 1 year anniversary, the end of
Yeah.
this month, actually. And if you would have told me like the list of who we've had on and that they actually remembered us, and they've always said to us, oh, anytime you want us to come back on, let us know. I would have, I'm like, we're not a big show.
That's
And
about, yeah.
like, I'll give you an example. And folks, if you missed this interview, you can go watch it on our YouTube page. If you ever see the show Cobra Kai, we just had on Sean Kanan recently.
Wait, okay. I've seen the Karate Kid movies. I have not. I'm ashamed to say I have not watched Cobra Kai. That's one of many shows I have to catch up on. So who's Sean Kanan?
He was. Do you remember? Did you see Karate Kid 3?
Yes.
Mike Barnes.
The main antagonist
Yeah, that's who we had on.
who bullied Daniel. He had the spike hair.
Yep.
Wow, that's incredible. I'd love to, because that was I loved Karate Kids one, 2, and 3. So wow.
Yeah. We just had Bobby Fish on recently. I mean, you were talking about a humble guy. He was so humble.
Yeah, like I said, that's you try to get as far as you can, but no matter how high you go, remember you go up, fame, you go up, but you're going to go down, and People will
Oh,
remember that if you're an asshole to them.
believe me, one thing, and most people who know me will say this: I am far from an asshole.
Right. Oh yeah. I wouldn't even mean you, but yeah, anyone.
Oh, I know. I trust me. It's how you approach people. It's the thing of, if you give people the respect that they deserve, they'll remember that.
Hmm.
And
And it'll catch up.
that's what. Mhm. I exactly. What it comes down to is, you give people the respect they deserve, they'll give it right back.
Yeah. I think the key is to be respectful, but be competent. Like you said, don't be a fanboy. Don't kiss ass. Just be a regular person, and remember that they're regular people, and they want to be, treated like regular people. I'm sure when they become these big celebrities or stars, they kind of miss the days of being just regular,
Yeah,
and it's going to make them feel that way. You know.
uh, Rich, I totally agree. But where? What else do you have? I know you mentioned before you got November Rain. Did you have anything else coming up this month that you like to promote?
I have, as I said, November Rain, All Respect Due, which is SWF. That's going to be Del Motor in. I believe the day
Mhm.
after, I have Pro Wrestling R, R standing for Revolution. That's going to be in Westville, New Jersey, a Sunday. UWA Elite on the 19th is going to have its final show of the year, Last Breath. That's always their finale show. And, UWA is just so amazing when it comes. We were talking about storylines. UWA are amazing with the storylines and the character development. And I think if you're a wrestling fan, you should, and you're in the New Jersey area, you should treat yourself and go see Last Breath in South River, New Jersey, at the South River VFW on November 19th. Then the 26th, I'll be at LTW Holiday Havoc. Now, the last Holiday Havoc was done at Ace, was also done in a yard, only because it was during the pandemic, so venues weren't open. So this will be the next, Holiday Havoc. And then those are the shows that we have for now. Celebrity boxing is ramping up some stuff, but there's no exact dates. All I know is boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. is going to be at the
Wow.
next one, and I'm pumped. I met him at a celebrity boxing event in March. I was just standing in the ring by myself, and I just looked over. He was sitting front row, and he just looked at me, nodded, waved, and I waved back. And something as small as that, just it was unreal, because I love boxing.
You bring up the part of the boxing thing, and this is the last thing I just want to get to. Who was your favorite boxer growing up?
You know, I think everyone loved Mike Tyson, but my favorite boxer has got to be Floyd Mayweather. The guy is just brilliant. He is so smart, and his athleticism, and he just, his punches are so accurate. And he just took boxing to the next level. But he I think took a cue maybe from WWE and just created a character that you hated. You either loved or hated. But either
Hmm.
way, people came to see him, and it's no question that I think that the highest pay-per-view fights of all time are Floyd Mayweather fights. Mayweather Pacquiao sold over, I think, 4.5 million pay-per-views. That's unheard of. Conor McGregor, when he fought him, I think that did like four. Oscar De La Hoya, Canelo, he is just a pay-per-view king, and he did it with what we were talking about: good versus evil. He was a villain in the eyes of many people, but he was so good. You came to see him get his ass kicked, but it never happened. He stayed undefeated. So I love Floyd.
Yeah, but you look at a lot of those guys though, and I actually bought a video game. I'll send you the picture of it later. Of like a lot of like the biggest boxing guys of all time on the
Mhm.
same screen. And when
Wow.
I saw this, I basically looked at him like, yeah, I have to pick this up just because of. I'm talking. This is Rocky Marciano, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, like the legends in the boxing world.
Yeah, yeah. Boxing is such a rich history. It's amazing. And
I,
you mentioned Muhammad Ali. He was influenced by Gorgeous George, the original great wrestling heel.
mm-hmm. But Rich, last question I got. First of all, thank you for hopping on today. I appreciate it a lot. Where can people
Got it.
find you on social media?
You can follow me on Instagram, RichReed7. That's my announcer Instagram page. Also, my public Facebook page is Rich Reed, the People's Voice. And you can also follow me on my regular Facebook page, just Rich Reed. If you're in the New Jersey wrestling scene, if you're into it, if you're a part of it, you probably have like at least 20 mutual friends with me. So amidst all the Rich Reeds, you'll probably be able to find me. It's a pretty distinctive profile picture. And again, if you're like attached to the New Jersey wrestling scene, you probably have mutual friends with me. So you could follow me on any three of those social medias. I'm going to get back into Twitter soon. I don't know how I fell out of that. But yeah, so just follow me there, and I post on a regular basis, and I work for a lot of great companies. So if you follow me, you'll that'll be your gateway to a lot of great wrestling or celebrity boxing action, and who knows in the future regular boxing, MMA. I'm looking to do just to expand in all territories.
Definitely check out Rich's stuff. He's one of the better ring announcers in the New Jersey area. But Rich, again, thank you so much for hopping on. The door is always open for you to come back on for any future events you want to promote. You know where to find me. We'll definitely want to have you on again.
Brother, thank you so much. It was really an honor. Thank you for having me on your show. Thank you. I really do appreciate it.
It was an honor to have you on as well. But for Rich Reed, I'm John. This has been another Around the Ropes YouTube exclusive. We will catch you guys on the flip side.